Picture this. It's 1935. The sun's scorching down on thousands gathered in the Nevada desert. President Roosevelt himself is there to dedicate a structure so massive it seems to defy nature, the Hoover Dam. That's what we're diving into today, the story behind this American icon.
It's not just engineering, it's ambition, perseverance, sacrifice, on a scale that's almost unimaginable.
Right. We'll explore it all, the design, the labor, the tragedies that unfolded in the shadow of this project.
To understand the human cost, we have to start with a story remarkable and heartbreaking, the story of the Tierney family.
Okay, let's unpack that. I see John Gregory Tierney mentioned at the start. Who was he?
He was a surveyor, one of the first men scouting dam locations back in 1921. Even before construction began, the Colorado River was still wild.
So what happened?
Tragically, while surveying Black Canyon, Tierney got caught in a flash flood swept away by the river. His body was never found.
Wow, that's a chilling start. It sets the stage for the danger workers faced.
Absolutely. And the risks only grew as construction began. Imagine 120-degree heat, suspended hundreds of feet above the canyon floor, the roar of the river constant.
I'm already sensing how challenging this project was. And you said the Tierney story was just the beginning.
Sadly, yes. John Gregory Tierney's death foreshadowed the toll this dam would take. Years later, his son Patrick Tierney also died working on the dam.
No way. What are the odds?
Patrick was working on an intake tower when he fell, and the date of his death, exactly 14 years to the day after his father drowned.
That's chilling. It's like this project had a curse.
It's a reminder of the human cost behind these ambitions. Over 95 documented deaths, and many believe the number is higher.
Staggering. And for the survivors, the conditions must have been brutal.
You're right. In 1931, during the Depression, workers went on strike. They demanded better pay, clean water, sanitation, basic necessities that were lacking.
So they risked their lives and didn't even have the basics. That's awful.
It was desperate. On one hand, horrible conditions. On the other, losing their jobs during massive unemployment.
What happened with the strike?
It failed. They got a few small things, but most demands weren't met. Desperate for work, most went back to the same dangerous conditions.
Seems like completing this project, no matter what, overshadowed the workers' well-being, a real tension between progress and welfare.
A crucial point. And it's even more clear when we look at the project lead, Frank Crowe, the chief engineer. Brilliant, no doubt, but relentless. Focus on efficiency, sometimes at the expense of worker safety.
Tell me about Crowe. What made him stand out?
Crowe was a visionary engineer. He revolutionized dam construction. Concrete pouring was a huge challenge with the amount needed. If they poured it all at once, the heat from curing would have taken a century for the concrete to cool and harden.
So what did Crowe do?
He devised a system pouring concrete in blocks, separated by columns for cooling. The blocks were interlocked like a giant puzzle. This reduced curing time, speeding up construction.
That's when the scale hits me, pouring in blocks, each cooling before the next. It's like giant Legos.
Great analogy. And it took incredible precision. Remember the puddlers? Workers who tamped down the fresh concrete, boots and shovels, making sure it settled. No air pockets, back-breaking work under the desert sun.
Hard to imagine.
Yeah.
And yet, despite the challenges, the dam was finished. A testament to human determination.
Absolutely. A marvel of engineering, human ingenuity.
Yeah.
But as we've seen, it came at a steep price. The Hoover Dam's legacy, triumph, and tragedy intertwined. And that complexity goes beyond just the human cost. We can't talk about the Hoover Dam without addressing its impact on the environment.
Right. We touched on that earlier. Let's dive deeper. What were the long-term ecological consequences?
Well, before the dam, the Colorado River was dynamic, untamed. It had seasonal floods, sometimes destructive, but they shaped the landscape, supported a diverse ecosystem.
So the dam stopped those natural cycles.
Exactly. It controlled the flow, created a predictable water supply. But at a cost, the floods used to deposit sediment rich in nutrients along the riverbanks. That was crucial for the soil, vegetation, habitat for species.
So the dam disrupted a delicate balance that had
Yeah.
existed for so long.
It did. And the effects were felt everywhere. Upstream Lake Mead, the reservoir, it flooded huge areas of habitat, displaced plants and animals downstream. Less flow and sediment changed the river's course, affected the delta, where the Colorado met the Gulf of California.
I see how even well-intentioned projects can have unintended consequences. when we mess with natural systems on this scale.
It's classic. We try to tame nature without fully understanding the complexities, and the Hoover Dam isn't alone. We see this throughout history.
But there were benefits to controlling the river.
Right. Of course, flood control was vital. The dam provided reliable water for agriculture, and the growing population in the Southwest, plus hydroelectric power. A vast region got electricity.
So it's a mixed bag, progress and development, but environmental consequences.
Exactly, and it raises a question we still struggle with. What's the balance between human needs and protecting the environment? Can we have one without sacrificing the other?
Big questions, no easy answers. But let's shift gears. We talked about the environment. What about the dam's impact on people? How did it change the American West?
The Hoover Dam transformed the Southwest. It made cities like Las Vegas, Phoenix, Los Angeles possible. They needed the water and power to sustain their growth. It fueled agriculture. 2 vast areas of land could now be farmed.
So the dam opened a new frontier. It's hard to imagine the Southwest without it.
True, but remember, this development came at a cost, human and environmental, and that cost is still debated today.
It sounds like the Hoover Dam is more than just concrete. It's a symbol of ambition, innovation, our relationship with nature, a story about progress, sacrifice, and choices we make as a society.
Well said. It resonates today as we face new challenges: water management, energy environment.
It's amazing how one structure, like the Hoover Dam, could be so many things at once: ingenuity, progress, controversy,
Yeah.
and a reminder about our balance with nature.
Exactly. What makes it so compelling, even now, almost a century later, is that it forces us to confront these questions that are still relevant.
So what can we learn? What's the takeaway from this deep dive?
I think a few key points. First, progress rarely comes without a cost. Human cost. Backbreaking labor accidents, environmental cost, changing natural systems. There are always trade-offs.
It's easy to just see the dam and marvel at how big it is, but we forget the sacrifices.
Right. And that leads to the second point. We need to be aware of unintended consequences of our actions, especially big projects that impact the environment. The Hoover Dam and the Colorado River, a cautionary tale. Planning and understanding the long-term effects are crucial.
We can't just force our will on nature without thinking about the ripple effects.
And lastly, the Hoover Dam shows us how important dialogue and debate are. There will always be different opinions about progress and preservation, human needs, and the environment. We need to keep talking, weigh the costs and benefits, find solutions that work and are fair.
The Hoover Dam might be history, but its lessons aren't. It makes us think about our relationship with nature and the choices we make as a society.
It reminds us that even incredible engineering feats come from human decisions with all their complexity and consequences.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Hoover Dam. We hope you have a new appreciation for this iconic structure and its story.
It was great sharing this with you.
And to our listeners, if you like this exploration, be sure to subscribe to the deep dive for more journeys into the past and how they connect to the present. Until next time.